What's going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends video, and today I'm going to give you Raid explained in 10 minutes. Whether you're a new player, you have friends who are new players, and you're trying to figure out what to do, 10 minutes here and you're going to be set and on your way. Starting off, we have pick any starter you want, as they all do fine overall. I personally go for the best looking champion, as that's Raid's biggest appeal. As I'm sure everyone knows, the aesthetics of the game are incredible. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. Kale is the best dungeon, clan boss damage dealer, good arena nuker, and can be a fast endgame campaign farmer. Gallic is a good dungeon wave clear champion, arena nuke, and campaign clear. Aethul is an amazing campaign progression starter, strong clan boss champion, good in dungeons, and scales the best with lifesteal due to all of the multi-hits and extra turn that she does have. Elaine is the best arena champion that can last all the way to endgame with that double hit, and has decent wave clear for dungeons and campaign. Now, Ninja is a promotional free legendary, so I do have to mention that, even though he won't be in the game forever. However, he is an amazing addition to every single roster and every aspect of the game if you do currently have him available, so make sure you are taking advantage of this champion and using him to your success. 6-star, the starting champion that you have picked based on what I just said, but keep an eye out if you do pull any stronger champions early on, as there's tons of shard rewards in the campaign from progressing when you're new to this game. Don't get baited by tier lists. Early on in this game, you can get champions often that will replace many, if not all, of your starting champions. And the best source of champion info are going to be specific videos on YouTube showing you where a champion is useful. Outside of that, it's just having a better understanding of all of the buffs, debuffs, and synergies between champions and their kits. So if you really want to know how good a champion is, use who you have and use their skill description to your advantage. Look up guides on those specific champions like I just said to see their real value. Don't ever use the in-game rating system that the game has. It's extremely outdated and it's a terrible way to see if a champion's good, because champions have gotten rebalanced, those ratings haven't gotten changed, new content is in the game making some champions a lot more viable and some champions less viable in all areas. New champions are as good as what their skill kit provides your specific champion pool on your specific account. You can't put a realistic rating on that because it's going to be different for every single player. Next, we have debuffs. Poison debuffs are the best for dungeons, clan boss progression, and overall one of the strongest debuffs in the game. Attack down is almost required to mitigate damage. It lowers the damage of anything you're fighting, as most content in this game does use the attack skill to scale off of damage, and it is 100% required for clan boss no matter what stage you're at. Defense down is the best offense debuff, followed by weaken. HP burn has its niche use for spider progression, and spider is very hard to progress early on. Outside of that, other AoE damaging scenarios, HP burn will also stand very strong. As far as buffs go, the strongest defensive buffs are block debuff, defense up, strengthen, and ally protection. Continuous heal is also a very strong sustain buff. The strongest offensive buffs are going to be increased speed, attack up, increased crit rate, and increased crit damage, especially for early game champions when you're lacking the stats to crit cap your champion, meaning 100% crit rate, which should always be the goal, on top of getting additional damage elsewhere while still being able to survive. Next, we're going to talk about composition. A typical progression composition consists of a speed or a champion with a turn meter boost, either increased speed or increased turn meter, a debuff champion, meaning a defense down, a nuke champion that deals a lot of AoE damage or area of effect, then 2 flex spots for a debuffer, which is poison or HP burn, reviver, CC champion, and a healer. For arena, you want to use 1 flex spot and prioritize a reviver, crowd control champion, and additional speed or turn meter booster. For gear sets, the best gear sets early on is going to be lifesteal, followed by speed and perception. Mixing sets to achieve solid stat thresholds is a very viable strategy if you're early game if you have a healer to sustain your team without lifesteal. As you move through the game, the gear set value will change significantly, but that isn't something you should focus on early game at all, as it's really going to slow down your progression. For stats go, aim for speed main stat boots on everybody. Speed's going to be the most key stat you want. When you're first starting off in this game, damage dealers, like I just mentioned, should always be at 100% crit rate or as close as possible. I know it's going to be difficult, but that's always the best goal to have. Second to that, always focus on their base damage multiplier being either attack-based champion, defense-based champion, HP. Then finally, crit damage is going to be the last thing on the priority list. Revivers should have solid HP, defense, and speed. For any champion with debuffs, you need accuracy unless it says cannot be resisted. All skills that don't say cannot be resisted have a built-in 3% chance to fail, even when you meet the requirements of the content you are doing. For early game, aim for 80 accuracy and keep increasing it as much as you can. 220 accuracy is the target goal to get you most end game content. Next, we're talking about affinities. Every single affinity, whether it's blue, green, or red, has a strong and weak affinity. If you are strong affinity, you have an increased chance of landing a critical hit. For weak affinity, you have a chance to apply a weak hit, which is a very low damaging ability. And if you have a void champion, you don't have to worry about any of this at all. Next is going to be ranking up champions. Make sure you never rank up a champion that you're not sure about. You might think it's good, you might not think it's good. Just save it. It's better to be safe than sorry. Aim for 2 level 60s first, but don't overcommit on a second one until you have enough shards from the campaign to see all your options. As I did mention, you do get quite a bit of shards when you first start off in this game, so make sure before you 6-star that second champion, you're pulling everything you do get from those campaign rewards and then make your decision after that. The next thing you want to do is focus on your Arbiter missions as best as you can, but don't lose progression by only focusing on them. I see this time and time again. People waste way too much time on those very tedious Arbiter missions, and it really slows them down progression wise. So always keep this in the back of your head. As far as Masteries go, you want to buy Masteries for your main campaign farmer for 800 gems. Masteries provide full effect and significant effect on 6 stars only, so also keep that in mind. You can also buy Masteries for a second champion at your own discretion or invest in the gem mine. Personally, I would suggest skipping the gem mine until day 90 login to see if you make it that long, because by then you're going to really understand the full swing of the game and it may or may not be to your taste. For Great Hall, you want to aim for accuracy early, but don't max out accuracy, even though it does take a long time and you would never be able to rank 10 something that quickly in the game. So aim for accuracy if you are lacking gear drops for it. If not, aim for crit damage and HP on that Great Hall. As far as progression goes, focus on campaign, progress until you get stuck, then do potion keeps, dungeons, faction moves until you hit a wall with a chance of getting a piece of upgraded gear that will put you over the edge to further progress in the campaign. Don't overinvest and level up any gear that isn't 5-star. Even from the start of the game, anything under 5-star shouldn't be taken above +12 or +8 depending on your current silver situation, which will be low, as you'll find out very quickly. Silver is hard to get and you go through it very quickly. Use your food champions to help you progress through faction wars. Use the random gear drops you get from campaign. Throw it on the champions you're going to be using as food and get as many stars as possible from faction wars. It's going to add up, and the forge is so strong and overpowered for early game players. It's going to be the best source of targeted gear, especially with perception being a thing. Ascension, this is really easy. As some champions gain a significant skill increase when you do ascend. It happens on Ascension number 3. Outside of that, stall as long as you can as far as ascending champions go, because outside of that skill gain you get from an Ascension, it's not going to be as big as a lot of people think. Now here comes the spending part. Don't buy anything you don't understand the benefit of. Some people are just going to be free to play, that's fine. You can ignore this whole section. Energy and gems are the safest buy. Gear packs, only buy them if you're brand new to the game. Outside of that, only really endgame players would ever do this. Shards have the highest value to new accounts, but without exaggerating, after you buy shards literally once or twice, the value significantly drops. Open shards whenever you want when you start, as the value can be very high with a limited roster. You can slow down your progression if you choose to wait for valuable shard events that do come every other week as far as a double chance, which increases the drop rates for higher rarity champions. One thing to note, higher rarity doesn't always mean good for non-early game. If you're past the early game, I do have spending guides that you can use down the line. When using skill ups, always think of or search for long-term use. Skill ups are very hard to come by in the form of books in this game without spending, so make sure you do enough research on a champion you use skill books on to be efficient. Make sure if you book a champion, it's only because the unbooked version has gotten you as far as it possibly can. One of the final things is fun. Make sure you're having fun. If you aren't, then literally just quit the game. I promise it will not get any better, so if you're not enjoying it, don't stick around saying maybe this will get better. The base game is a great indicator of the entire game, which is different than a lot of other games. The last tip I have for you guys is this game is extremely in-depth, which kind of pushes it above and beyond most other games in the genre that Raid Shadow Legends is in, because the amount of customization and detail is second to none. But with the following information, you will fly through the start of the game as you learn much more and be ahead of the curve on every other new player that doesn't have this information that I just gave you to their advantage. Alright guys, that is Raid explained very quickly, everything you really need to know when coming to this game. If you know this, you're going to have a very easy time. If you don't know this, you're going to struggle, as I'm sure many people who've been playing for a while wish they had this information to their disposal. Don't forget guys, if you enjoy this content, subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and I will see you all in my next upload.